spokesperson of the 10th National Assembly, Senator Yemi Adaramodu, has explained that while the Red Chamber has received about 61 proposals across the 6 geopolitical zones in the country for state creation, it cannot recommend any state for creation now. Adaramodu, who spoke with journalists in Ilawe Ekiti, his country home, disclosed the stance of the Senate, saying the Red Chamber has no constitutional right to unilaterally create states, a serious process that requires auditing demographic, geographic, and historical data. The Senate spokesman explained that the Senate cannot recommend any state for creation until all factors have been put into consideration before its emergence after the upcoming public hearing following the parliamentary recess. Joining us on this show to discuss the issue of state creation and the Senate spokesperson's stance on the subject matter is Senator Onyekachi Nwaebonyi, Senate Deputy Chief Whip and Chairman, Senate Committee on Review of the Constitution Southeast Zone. Good morning, Senator, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, my very good friend Abati, for having me.
Well, Senator, the story as outlined. What's your take on the state creation? You are the chairman of the Senate Committee on the Review of the Constitution Southeast Zone. And here we have Senator Yemi Adaramodu, spokesperson of the Senate, saying, well, we should all forget it. No state is going to be created, despite the 61 proposals, because there are other levels of consideration, demographic, geographic. Well, you didn't add political, but political should be part of it. But what's your own take? Do you agree with him? Do you disagree with him?
Well, I will agree with him to some extent. But before I go into that, I want us to look at the procedures that we must follow when there is agitation for creation of additional states in Nigeria. Section 8, sub 1, B, C, and D expressly lay down procedures, to be followed when we want to create more states in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Section 8, sub 1A is of the view that it has to originate through a request for state creation. This request must be backed up by 2/3 majority of the representative of the people seeking to be made a state, meaning that the representative of the people at the Senate, the representative of the people at the House of Reps, at the House of Assembly, and at the local government councils within the areas that are agitating to be made a state will support that request in writing, and it will be forwarded to the National Assembly. And that is the 61 bills my colleague is talking about. Now, Section 8, sub 1B made it mandatory that the National Assembly will cause a referendum to be conducted within that area that is agitating to be created as an independent state. And the constitutional requirement is that 66% of the entire population of the people seeking to be made a state must give approval to that request. So you can see that these are stages. When this referendum is done and approved by 66% of the people living within the area agitating to be made a state, in line with Section 8, sub 1C of the Constitution. Now, the National Assembly, having gotten that referendum in affirmation, will now cause that bill to be sent to the 36 states of the Federation House of Assembly, which will in turn do justice to it in line with Section 8, sub 1C of the Constitution, that requires simple majority of the 36 states of the Federation. when the simple majority of the 36 states of the Federation gives a nod, to this bill that the state should be created, it will now be sent back to the National Assembly in line with Section 8 sub 1D of the Constitution, which provides that the two houses in the National Assembly, being the Senate and the House of Representatives, will give a nod to this request for state creation by 2/3 majority of the entire elected members of that parliament. After that, it can now be transmitted to the presidency for assent. That is when a state can be created. So, having seen the provisions of the Constitution as enumerated in Section 8 sub 1A to D, you can see that is a fact that is speaking for itself. And the 10th National Assembly, under the leadership of our uncommon leader, the uncommon Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, going by the agitations of Nigerians and in line with these constitutional provisions, constituted a committee chaired by the Deputy Senate President to man these processes of our constitutional review, which predominantly the most celebrated bill in this constitutional review is request for creation of more states. And I want to say, yes, we may have over 60 bills requesting for state creation in Nigeria. But what I want all Nigerians to know, that if one state additionally should be created in Nigeria, it must be created from the southeast region of Nigeria to balance this zonal imbalance.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, for setting the scene and for also just, informing us about the correct procedure that must be followed. And I'm glad you landed on the point that you landed because, of course, one of the states, I believe probably the only state, if I'm not mistaken, that has really gained momentum in getting all of these pieces together so far is the proposed state of Anyoma. Now, there was a report that emerged from the public hearings, specifically from the people of Delta North, Ukwani community and so, who were saying that they were sidelined at the hearings because they don't think this Anyoma state, when it's created, belongs to the southeast. There's now a fight between those who feel that Anyoma, if and when it's created, should go to the southeast, and those who feel it should go to the south-south. And now the south-south saying that the public hearings were a sham, they were not allowed to speak, the people's views were ignored, and so forth. So number one is the issue of how do we determine if and when a state is created, which geopolitical zone it belongs to? Because that's already a recipe for rancor. That's number one. Number two, is this really what we need? We continue to have this conversation, but shouldn't we be focusing on maybe expanding our local governments as opposed to all this talk of state creation? I mean, it's shocking that it's getting this much momentum.
Well, let me start by correcting an impression that those who came to present their request were not given the opportunity to so do. That may not be before the Senate Committee zonal hearing, because the zonal hearing that I chaired, accommodated every interest and, request, including that of Anyoma, even when daily they're supposed to come under South-South Nigeria, because Delta State is under South-South. But we believe that the people of Anyoma are Igbos. If you look at their history, look at their cultural practices, even their language, will tell you that they are our brothers. However, outside a request for creation of an Anyoma state, we also have requests for creation of other states, which if you go for a referendum today in Southeast, I must tell you, without taking sides, the other state will have the way, because considering their population, considering their resources, and I must tell you, so outside even other state, we also have requests for Aba State. We also have requests for Anim State, for the people of Imo and maybe part of Anambra and part of River State. So all these requests were, forwarded, and they were all taken. And they were also given opportunity, to buttress their point. So it is wrong to say that they were not given opportunity to ventilate their agitations. That is not correct. However, on the issue of a local government, like I submitted in the course of my submission recently, I said that it is even high time we remove local government as a third tier of government in Nigeria. Because if we continue to do that, to solve the problem of imbalance in the number of local government within the states and geopolitical zones, we continue to draw us backwards. So I was of the view that as we amend the 1999 Constitution, we should remove completely local government there and leave local government within, the states. Let states have power to create as many local government as they want, in as much as you can fund them and make them extend democracy dividends to the people in the grassroots, which is the rationale behind the creation of local government. I say so because if you go to a state like Kano, it has over 50 local government areas, whereas Bayelsa has only 8 local government areas. Ebonyi has only 13 local government areas. You see that the agitation will be endless. So the simplest way to handle the issue of local government and revive the local government, I believe that it should, be left within the control of the state. Because as it stands today, it is difficult, if not impossible, going by the constitutional provisions and the powers of the State House of Assemblies, which are being controlled by the governors. These are the truths. And we must tell Nigerians the truth. It is difficult, if not impossible, to have practically autonomous local government, independent of their own in Nigeria. They must be controlled. So it's better we shift this control statutorily to the state government and charge them to help their people to develop through the local government areas.
Okay, thank you, Senator Nwaebonyi. A couple of things. When you were talking about Anyoma being part of the Igbo people, the question will now be, what about states like Kwara that have a large Yoruba-speaking community that when you even look at it historically, if not for what happened around Afoja, you will not be able to have the entry of Alimi, and that section in Kwara. So what about states like that have a large Yoruba-speaking population that is in the, seen as part of the north? What about states like parts of rivers that are Igbo-speaking also? I want you to explain all of that to me. And secondly, my main concern is not about the politicking of state creation, Senator. My main concern is, please, I want to see, or can you talk me through the viability, economic viability reports that some of these people submitted that they want states? Like, how would the state run? What are they? And I'm not saying potential. Almost every state have potential. But we are saying economic viability report of practical. I'm not saying, no, we have access to crude oil. No, you can have access to crude oil, but the money to drill that crude oil can sink you in debts. We know how that happens. Did you check through, and what are the viability, economic viability reports of the states? Because as we speak today, most states are never, the ones we created on ground are never viable.
Okay, thank you, my very good friend, Rufai. Let me start with your question as it relates to Anyoma State. Yeah, we are not saying that we have a result for Anyoma State. I'm saying that is one of the requests, that were brought to us, and we couldn't throw it away because these people are our brothers. So it's better to, one madman said, it's better to do the sign of a cross from both the forehead and at the back, because you don't know where Jesus will come from. So I think that they are wise to make the presentation before the Southeast and also before the South-South zone, so that all hands will be on deck to make sure that they are recognized as a state. And when you listen to their peculiar grounds for this agitation, you actually feel for them, considering what their people passed through, during the Biafran War and what have you. However, as the people of Southeast, I've enumerated the number of requests we got which mainly is the Adada state, like I mentioned. Adada state comprises people of Enugu, part of Ebonyi-speaking Benue, and other surrounding states. And outside that Adada state, we also have requests for Anem state. We also have requests for Aba state. So even outside the Anyoma, we have these three from the southeast. And like one leader from the north, in particular from Kano, said that the southeast geopolitical zone deserves even 2 states, not just 1 state, considering our number, considering what we do, considering our belief for one Nigeria. So I believe that in view of this, we should be given this additional 1 state. Now, as to the viability of these states,
yes,
let me tell you, my brother, the problem we have in Nigeria is this type of federalism that we practice. It has made our state very, dull and inactive in terms of economic activities, because at the end of the month, they will come to Abuja and get federation account. That is why Nigerians are saying no, that we should go into true federalism, wherein all the resources domiciled in each state, should be allowed to be managed by those states, and taxes and royalties should be paid, to the government at the center. That is what is obtainable, in other organized society. And that is what we are talking about. So I believe that if more states are created and they are charged to cater for their people, and qualified people are elected to man those states, I must tell you, they will make something out of nothing, even if such state doesn't have any crude oil. But there is no state in Nigeria that doesn't have one natural resources or the other. For example, in Ebonyi state, we don't have oil, but we have other natural resources. We have solid minerals. We are blessed with fertile land. We can do better in agriculture if
Senator,
Senator, the question I asked is this.
Yes.
A lot of people have argued that we don't even need state. That's not our problem. That's why I said initially, this is just all politicking, just to excite people, maybe leading up to the next election. That's all, because I don't think the process will continue to the end. And we all know how Nigeria works. That's my I might be wrong. And I will be happy if I'm proven wrong. But Senator, as I was saying, I'm saying the viability reports. Did they include it? What did they say? And viability reports is not only about potential crude oil. We are saying viability reports. Viability in terms of how the civil service is going to be streamlined. How the workings of the state will be streamlined. How do we manage security in a state, for instance, where we are saying we are overly dependent on the Center for Security? How are they going to pay the security? And let's not deceive ourselves, Senator. You can't pay that based on royalties of natural resource. There must be creativity. So what did they say in those reports?
Well, when you talk of viability of a state, I think you are talking of economic viability of such states, which I've enumerated here, that when we have prudent leaders, we can make something out of nothing. Remember, in 1914, when Nigeria was amalgamated, we were divided into North and Southern Protectorate. Later, we devolved into 12 states. Later, we devolved into 21 states. Later, we devolved into 30 states. Later, we devolved into 36 states. It means that we are progressing. And you cannot say that we can't create another state. If the Constitution do not want us to create another state, then Section 8 shouldn't have been been there in the Constitution. In as much as Section 8 is there, stating the procedures and steps to be taken in creating new states, it goes without saying that there is this contemplation that the time will come in this country that will increase the number of states in Nigeria from 36 states to more number of states. So I want you to understand that very, very well. And on coming again on the issue of viability of the state, of course, that is why we have leaders. It is the duty of the leaders, to sit down and think on how they are going to survive economically, to think on how they can secure their state, to think on how they can pay the salaries of the civil servants. Moreover, the bills will contain most of these things, because even Section 8, sub 2C, also made provisions for the content of the bill, which include the capital of the state, the name of the state, the local government, and other ancillary issues, relating to the takeoff of such states. So that's not a problem. And I want to assure you, that Nigeria will one day will increase from 36 states to more number of states. Have that at the back of your mind. And it is doable and it is possible.
Senator, the question here, what I get you saying is that, oh, okay, Adaramodu has said there is not likely to be the possibility of additional state creation, but you say, even if states must be created, it must be in the Southeast, where there is an urgent need, in your view,
yes,
for additional states to be created. But what of the political nature
yes,
of the matter?
Yes.
You can't come with a proposal for the creation of states, and it's only in the East. You know, this is a country that is, you know, on 6 legs, if you may use that expression. So if you create in the Southeast, you will not create in the Northeast, you will not create in the Northwest. It will be a prescription for chaos. So maybe Adaramodu is right to say, in fact, maybe we should leave this matter of states creation. The second thing about viability is about these states being centers of productivity rather than consumption. You are basing your argument on the expectation that some leaders will come from mass, who will be leaders in these states and who can make things happen. Where are those people going to come from? I don't see them around here at this moment. Maybe they will come from heaven or from outer space. So there's no productivity anywhere other than people saying we want a state for ego reasons. Don't you think Nigeria will create more problems,
No.
both financial, economic, and political,
No.
by even toying the idea of creating more states?
Well, my good friend Abati, I disagree with you. We still have good leaders in this country. If you go to the Southeast zones, for example, and there are... of course,
give me some examples. Give me some examples.
I'm coming now. I'm coming. If you go to Enugu State, you see what Governor Mba is doing. You will see a leader that is out to answer his father's name. When you go to Abia, you see a governor, even though not of APC, but of course, you know me, I say things the way they are. Governor Alex Oti is transforming Abia, both in the capital city and in the rural area. Let me not say the obvious. If you come to Ebonyi State is one of the youngest states in Southeast Nigeria. But Abati, I invite you to visit Ebonyi. You have every cause to agree with me that we'll have good leaders in Southeast. For example, my governor, as I'm speaking to you, has awarded over 80 kilometers of concrete pavement road across the 13 local government areas of Ebonyi State. What is his intention? To connect the rural areas to the urban center and link the road, you know, to our people's farms and markets, you know, because Ebonyi people are agrarian people. So when you look at all these policies and programs, you see leaders that are organized, you see leaders that are focused, you see leaders that want, you know, to make the difference. So I believe that we'll have more of those people, more in Southeast, and in particular in those areas that are agitating for this state creation. And I must tell you, my brother, we cannot expect the heavens, the angels from heavens to come and make Nigeria better. You and I can do it, and we must not talk ill of our leaders at all the times. Instead, my Bible enjoins us to pray for our leaders and ask for God's guidance so that they will always walk in the path of justice, all for the good of the people. So I believe strongly that if more states are created, we will have good leaders that will emerge therein to turn things around and further develop such areas. Well, more so, on what you say that Nigeria is standing... Just a minute, yes. Just a minute, just a minute. You said Nigeria is standing on 6 legs. Yes, that is a siege of political zones. And if a request for state is coming up, it must reflect the siege of political zone. I can't say no to that.
Okay, we'll take a short break, and when we establish connection with him, we'll be right back with Senator Onyekachi Nwaebonyi, Senate Deputy Chief Whip and Chairman, Senate Committee on Review of the Constitution, Southeast Zone. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the morning show here on the Arise News channel. Still with us is Senator Onyekachi Nwaebonyi, Senate Deputy Chief Whip and Chairman Senate Committee on Review of the Constitution, Southeast Zone. Well, Senator, you were speaking and then we lost audio connection. If you may just continue from where you stopped, but if you could take along with this, the point you were making, where will the funding come from for these states? You are saying, yes, political solution, we can have states everywhere. Who is going to fund them? The same federal government that is insolvent?
Well, yes. Well, the funding shouldn't be a problem because the taxi states, as it stands today, and the FCT is being properly funded. So, and these states are not going to be created from the moon. They are going to be created from the existing states. So, it goes without saying that the funding will naturally come from the existing sharing formula of the national cake. But I'm trying to say that most of these areas that are agitating, to be made a state, like Adada State, for example, which encompasses the Nsukka section of Enugu, part of Benue, and part of Ebonyi. When you go there, if you see the infrastructure there, you will see a place that can kickstart as a capital of that state. For example, Nsukka can comfortably house a capital city of a state. And when you look at the land they are in, very fertile land, what is required is a leader that will look down well and see the nose and understand that our destiny is now put in our own hands, and we must till the ground to survive. So that is what is required. As for the political will, which you are hammering on, I must tell you that nothing is impossible. It all relies on the people. If you look at the provisions as I enumerated in section 8(1)(a) to D, you will see that the process is in the hands of the people. The only person that will need his assent is the president. The rest is on the people. Remember how it originated. The people will bring a request, and it will be thrown back to them. A referendum will be done. A simple majority of the state assembly, not to tell the majority of the state this time around, but a simple majority of the taxi states. So we have taxi states, meaning that 23 or 23 states can give a nod to a creation of a state. So don't be afraid of this. It is possible. Okay. That is the point I'm trying to make. And that is where I'm going to differ with our spokesman, that it is possible. It can be created. It's not a political jamboree. Okay. If it is a jamboree, we can't go into it in the first place.
Okay. You know, with cases like these, sometimes we like to look at historical antecedents. And for me, my favorite example is always that of Yugoslavia, former Yugoslavia, which is now disintegrated into Serbia, Kosovo, Macedonia, various places. And what happens? What happens is a precedent was set where a group of people feel that we need our own space within a country. And then with time, events happen, people feel there's marginalization, people feel their state is not getting enough attention, and so forth. And then eventually what happened in Yugoslavia is that they all started breaking away into being their own independent countries. Now, I say this because when we look at something as simple as ward delineation in Warri, and the kind of disagreement and communal clash that it has caused, and then we're now saying we want to carve out all these states. And furthermore, we're saying that, okay, there's dispute about where these new states should belong. I come back to the example of Anyoma, where you're saying, okay, but these are Igbo people. Some people might give the example and say, well, Belgian people call themselves Belgians, but they speak French. They don't belong to France. There are so many debates that come up. Is this what this nation needs right now? Shouldn't we be looking for healing? Shouldn't we be looking for more cohesion? Shouldn't we be looking for better ways for our existing states to become more profitable, for our local governments to become more impactful to the grassroots? Let's see service delivery. One part of the country is grappling with IDPs. So many of these issues conflated on a daily basis. So the talk of state creation just sounds out of context, and it seems like it will cause an already a tense situation to become even more volatile.
Well, the request for state creation is just one out of the 60-something bills that is before us as a parliament. And why we are dwelling much on it is based on the questions you asked. We still have other bills that is also taking the center stage that has to do with security, and that is the a request for state policing to help curb this menace of insecurity that is ravaging part of Nigeria, particularly in the northern part of the country. So a request for state creation is one of those bills. And like I said, everything is in the hands of the people. And the process will determine what happens at the end of the day. That people are making the request does not mean that it is certain, that the states are going to be created. It didn't start today. The agitation has been there. But we are saying that if things should be done well, the way it's supposed to be, we have 3 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. And Northwest, for example, has 7 states. Others have 6 states. What is the sin of the Southeast? That is the question. And that is why we expect, you people, the journalists, to speak out the truth to power. That the people, it is over time, we look at the people of Southeast and treat them, equally with other zones of the Federation. So that is the point I'm trying to make. Yes, thank you.
I mean, we always make a point for the Southeast here. We advocate for the Southeast, but I'm happy you've said it with your mouth now that it's an agenda. And the agenda is now slanted along region, which is also going to be political campaign rhetoric. So probably this will be what some people from that area will go and sell to their people in the next election to be able to gain political votes. So that's what this is all about, politics in the first place. And secondly, let me finish. Yes. Secondly, barring 1963, show me one civilian democratic government that has created states and how easy it has been, barring 1963. Show me one, briefly.
Okay. From 1963, I want to ask you, from 1963 to 1999, how many years did democracy have its way in Nigeria?
Oh, yeah. From
it's less than 20%.
Well, from 1963, yeah. But we've had...
Yes, look at it.
But hang on a minute.
We've had 1999.
No, hang on a minute. We've had over 20 years uninterrupted of civilian rule. Why
from
have
1963?
States... No, hang on a minute.
1963, I disagree with you.
I'm answering your question.
I disagree with you.
No, Senator, it's best you listen to me. Yes. From 1999, we've had over 20 years uninterrupted. In fact, 26 years uninterrupted democracy.
No, you said from 19... No,
Senator.
You said from 1963.
No, Senator, you didn't get me right. I said barring 1963. You didn't get me. You didn't hear me. Barring 1963, when we created Midwest region, show me another democratically elected government that has been able to create states. That's why barring, and why I said 1963, because 1963 was democratically elected based on the 1959 elections. So barring 1963, apart from 1963, show me another democratically elected that has been able to create states. That's what I asked.
Well, if a democratically elected government in 1963 can create some states, it goes without saying that democratically elected, leader now can also create states. So it is doable, even though we may not have done it within those period after 1963. But that does not write off the possibility of, for example, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to assent to a bill if the processes leads to a stable that Nigerian people, in line with Section 8 of the Constitution, have agreed to create more states, A, B, C, the president will assent. So it's on the people. It all relies on what the people want. If we follow the laid down procedures in the Constitution and we say this is what we want, everybody must not agree. That's why the Constitution at a point said 2/3, simple majority. For example, I was even thinking that we require 2/3 majority of the states assembly across the nation. But looking closer to my Constitution this morning, I saw in Section 8 sub 1 C or so, saying that what is required is simple majority of the state houses of assembly. And even in that, the resolution, the requirement of the resolution is simple majority.
Simple majority,
that
that's right.
It is doable if Nigerian people want so.
Well, we wait for the will of the people to prevail. Senator, thank you so much for this conversation, enlightening as always.